Hey everybody, it's Deborah Carter here with Preparation Tech. Today we've got a great Black History Month interview with Prince Stephen Annor, who is in Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates. I'm so excited to be speaking with him. He comes very highly recommended by Isaac Sacey, who was another of our previous interview subjects. So welcome, Prince Stephen. We're so happy that you're here. Let's start off with you explaining what you do and how it relates to technology.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Deborah. The honor is all mine. I am very excited to be here. So, I teach engineering laboratory courses at New York University, specifically in Ab- Abu Dhabi. So, the courses I teach range from computer programming to robotic classes with embedded systems to machine learning and artificial intelligence and computer vision. So I kind of play a lot of the fields, and this is at the undergraduate level. But I also do my research, like research in a professional sense, but also I also have some personal research I also do. So from the professional sense, I work in the robotics and intelligent systems control group here at New York University. And on a personal side, I do a lot of Internet of Things research. So like my entire apartment's a smart room. I have different robots and drones. And I also play a lot with photography. So I do a lot of photography with drones and portrait photography, different things. And I also try to incorporate that back into technology. So I don't just take pictures, but I use different elements from my computer vision research in photography. So just kind of tying things together and making it as fun as it can be. Yeah.
Great. And on top of all of these things, you are one of the people behind SuaCode Africa, which is really
Yes.
interesting because you're teaching African students how to code on their smartphones. So they
Yes.
don't need a computer. They can learn to code on smartphones. Tell us about this initiative. Why did you create it and what have been the results so far?
Yes. So SuaCode Africa originally started in 2017. I was invited to teach the programming component at technology bootcamp in Ghana. But unfortunately, when I landed in Accra, my laptop decided that it was time. So it stopped functioning. So I was like really stressed because I landed on Saturday night and the program was on Monday. So I started exploring. I mean, originally I had played with programming on the phone in Python and C++, but it didn't really, it wasn't a huge thing for me because I had so many computers here in Abu Dhabi and in New York. So like I was like, okay, this is cool, but then I have like 6 computers. So I was like, but in when that happened, I realized how significant it was that now I didn't have a computer, and also at the workshop, a lot of people did not have computers. So then it became a very quintessential component. So I had to like spend that Sunday revamping the curriculum to fit with the mobile processing app application. And the workshop stroke conference went really well and the students really enjoyed it. So after that, the organization, which is INSESA Foundation, where Isaac Sayers is the vice president, invited me to join the executive board and launch this mobile programming course as SuaCode, which has different cohorts in a year. So it started in 2017, the third quarter. And over that period from 2017 to 2020, SuaCode has had amazing results. We had a few cohorts in Ghana, which were great. And then in 2019, I was awarded the Processing Foundation Fellowship to launch it over the entire A- African continent and also develop an automatic grading system to scale it properly. So that's also happened, and the results were amazing. Actually, in 2019, we had a lot of students, about 709, of which 25% were female, and the female pass rate was 76%, which was higher than the male pass rate, which was 71%. Since then, SuaCode has been skyrocketing. I officially stepped down from the organization in 2019 for some personal reasons, but since then I have been supporting the organization from a more advisory role. And currently, the organization is developing SuaCode into an artificial intelligence. They have a new mobile application now, and it's amazing. It's really doing very well. So that's SuaCode.
Wow, and like girl power. So, I mean, it even just speaks to getting female talent into technology, into computer science and
Absolutely.
coding. And this brings me
Absolutely.
to my next question. So, Africa is obviously full of promising talent. I'm preparing for an interview with a man who runs an open innovation lab in Shenzhen, China. And he said, like, we're not interested in the Europeans or in the North Americans. We are totally focused on really developing technology that solves Africa's problems in partnership with Africans. So how do you see yourself and the students who are graduating from SuaCode, and in terms of the technology and the innovation potential in Africa?
That's an amazing question because Africa is a fast developing continent with regards to the opportunities that could come up, right? So, especially, I was mentoring some students in 2018 who were looking in the agricultural sector for an example, and were looking into unmanned aerial vehicles for different agricultural applications. I can also think about the banking and electronic commerce center, where there are a lot of growing businesses in Africa and ones which are yet to spring up. And there is currently an over reliance on foreign technology, which most of the time doesn't fit well within the African context. So with students graduating from SuaCode every year, including some other students I mentor in other programs, I see a lot of development being done in these sectors. And then we could go broad with like information technology infrastructure. We could then look into entertainment. We could look into education, climate change. There
Mhm.
are so many opportunities for Africans to look around them and think about ways in which they could create their own sustainable solutions for the problems they face, just like it's been done in the West and it's been done in the East.
Awesome. Absolutely. So I see before me someone who is passionate about technology, talent in Africa, and solving Africa's problems. Take us back to your childhood. What kind of child were you? What were you interested in? What were your hobbies and your favorite subject at school? What took you from being a child to being this tech guru in Abu Dhabi?
First of all, I'm not a tech guru, but I try.
In my books, you're a tech guru.
So I spent my whole 18 years in Accra. So I grew up in Accra in the public education system. I loved mathematics and physics in school. So I used to actually try to prove things which were not required in the syllabus. And I found that to be a lot of fun. And then when I joined university here at New York University, actually, that's not entirely true because I developed my love for computers after an innovation bootcamp in 2014, which was actually the same bootcamp where I taught at 2017, where SuaCode came from. So that was actually the first time that I got my first laptop, and that's when I started programming initially. And then when I went to university, that actually that interest became much more, because here at New York University Abu Dhabi and New York University New York Tandon School of Engineering, there are so many facilities for free, and I just went wild in the things I tried to make. I built a mobile printing thing for the entire school for all three campuses, played with space and writing code for atmospheric detection and analysis for Mars. I did a lot of interesting things because there were so many opportunities. Yeah, so that's kind of my story with regards to technology.
Right. And now I understand you were at NYU Abu Dhabi and you actually took courses in all three locations, which were Abu Dhabi, New York, and Shanghai. Tell us, how do those three locations compare in terms of tech and innovation? Because you have obviously the experience of being in all of them.
Yeah. So Abu Dhabi is a very fast-paced, growing city, and Emirates. The government here is very, very passionate and actually hates the word impossible. So they invest heavily into technology in various sectors, from healthcare, startups, culture, and heritage, many things. So the ecosystem here is actually mostly supported through the government, and they have institutions like one is called HAP 71, and that actually helps a lot of startups here. There's also a whole ecosystem in Dubai, which is another Emirates part of the United Arab Emirates, and that also has amazing facilities for startups. They would help coach you, give you computers, an office space, very excellent. And then you go to Shanghai, where it's and not just Shanghai, but mostly mainland China. There is a lot of work being done on development, and that is partly sponsored by the government, but also sponsored by very rich organizations which are based in China. So when I was in China, I was mostly into heritage. I was into interactive media. So I visited a lot of spaces where they were developing such technology, and it was amazing. I literally walked into someone's home, and the number of machines there, I thought I'd walked into a factory, but then I saw a bed. I was like, huh, interesting. So China is really doing a very amazing things. And of course, then you come to New York, and New York also has a very, actually, New York is the second world best technology ecosystem. And yeah, so there is a lot of work being done in all three locations, and I really valued my experience in all three, except Abu Dhabi is mostly sponsored by the government. Shanghai is a bit of both, and New York is mostly private, as it would seem, with Google and other corporations.
Right. Interesting. So innovation boot camps and hackathons have played a real important role in your development, right?
Yes.
What skills have you acquired by participating in them? And I remember Isaac, and this is why I thought I have to interview this guy, because Isaac said, this guy, he won this hackathon and he wrote code to send a rocket to the moon. And so I said, I have to meet this guy. But you've really developed yourself by participating in a series of these kinds of things. And this is really a new way of kids educating themselves by actually going and getting hands-on experience. Tell us a bit about the role that these competitions and hackathons have played for you.
Yes, I think to start with, I would say they help me a lot with public speaking, because I don't know if you can notice, but I stutter, and it actually gets worse when I'm actually trying to pitch something I built to judges, and I just sometimes I have a emotional breakdown. And doing these things repeatedly has helped me gain a lot of self-confidence, helped me reduce my inclination for self-sabotage and like freaking out with so many people. And I think that's very important because especially in the technology ecosystem, there's so much work being done on the technology itself, but a lot of the softer skills are not emphasized, like public speaking, how to make ethical de- decisions with technology. And this is huge in artificial intelligence right now, where some things are coming up which are not so good. So that has definitely been one. And of course, the technical skills, software programming, cybersecurity, hardware programming, many technical skills which I have been exposed to thanks to participating in these things. And I would also want to say that I owe a lot of the things I know to Google because I literally just search for stuff that I'm interested in or stuff that I need to know. And I personally don't like to learn something just to know it. I like to learn something because I need to use it for something like right there. So by participating in these things, I'm kind of forced to learn things because I need to do them, especially when you win a fellowship or something, you actually have to do it. So yeah, so that has definitely been very useful.
You're a Black man from Africa. So obviously in your life, you've met a lot of challenges, right? Especially
Yes.
to get where you are. What strategies have you developed to overcome these challenges? And this is really, I'm asking you on behalf of people who may be watching this interview and saying, look where he's got. And it's really important to manage the expectations and to also prepare kids and young people for meeting these challenges and overcoming them.
Yeah, it's very challenging to be a Black man in this world in general, because there's a lot of systematic racism, overt racism. It varies from where you are, but there's always some element in there, and especially so you kind of have two phases where you can experience racism and it affects you a lot, or you could hear of other people experiencing racism, and that also affect you because it's kind of intertwines with your own experience, and it makes it a very emotionally draining experience. And yeah, so that's something that I'm actually still figuring out is how to balance listening to the news and taking care of myself, and at the same time not being apathetic and still donating to these causes and supporting them on social media, etc. From my experience, I have been trying to, like, when I experience racism di- directly, especially here, I have found that a lot of it has to do with ignorance. So I've also been trying to talk to people about my experiences and why certain things are not right. And that has also been very useful. So I would say it has a lot to do with self-care and self-awareness to realize that there's nothing wrong with being a Black man. Actually, there's no difference between being Black or being white or being any color, because everyone who wants to do something can do it if they want to do it. And you could read and learn and understand. I personally, it takes me a long time to actually understand things, but I persist and I try until I get it right. And so definitely don't think that because the news shows a certain race as something and another race as something, you define what. So it's almost like like to think of it in a way that I want to be who I wished I had when I was young, right? So you define it, and of course it's a huge responsibility, but I still think it's very quintessential that a Black person would see every act he or she is doing as defining the history that they want themselves to have seen when they were younger. So yeah, that would be my long, overly complex speech.
But it's really useful. And I would say also that, you come from Africa. So as opposed to me, my parents immigrated to Canada and we were very much the minority. And that's kind of the context that I grew up in. Whereas you grew up in Africa, surrounded by Africans, and you're in this ecosystem of a lot of Africans as well. So that's also
Yeah.
must be very comforting and also strengthening to you.
Yes, and I draw a lot from my a- ancestors. Of course, I can't explain that with science, but I draw a lot from them.
Yeah, yeah.
Supernaturally, somehow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I believe I do too. I was just reading something about people shouldn't focus on the generational trauma, but also on the strength of their ancestors. And I think
Absolutely,
that's so important.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
they're very strong.
absolutely. My last question. How are you, Prince Stephen Annor, making tech history? What is the legacy that you want to leave behind for Black community, but also society at large?
I think technology is a very powerful tool, and I would hope that as people use it in their lives or build them in their lives, they would continue to think of very creative ways to innovate with such technologies, and that's what I hope to live. I would also want to inspire people to do so by doing it myself. So to kind of set an example and making it very, very obvious that there's no secret. It's you Google stuff, you read it till you understand, or you watch it till you understand, and then you try it yourself, and it fails 50 times, but hopefully the 51st time it succeeds. And if it doesn't, you have the choice to decide whether you want to continue to the 52nd time or do something else. And I'm faced with that decision every day because I do a lot of different things. And then, of course, the impact, where it's like we need to be responsible for all our decisions with regards to technology. So whether that's in e- education, and that is particularly why I enjoy teaching, because then I get to see a lot of students visibly develop. And I also don't just teach my students to develop skills, but I also teach them to develop as people and develop with e- e- empathy and all these skills, which are usually not taught in an engineering curriculum. But for once in a while, I throw it I throw it in there so that we have more responsible and more empathetic, powerful technological individuals. So I just use three words, which is innovate, inspire, and impact, which is actually the motto of INSESA Foundation, where Isaac Sessi founded and also is the vice president. So yeah, that would be what I would hope I would leave behind and what I hope people would emulate even as they go on their own journeys.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prince. It was an excellent interview. Love what you're doing. I'm looking forward to keeping in touch and also connecting you. I think I've connected you with a couple of people already
Yes.
because there's a lot of organizations focused, especially on Africa. But believe me, even here in Europe and North America, how you can teach kids coding through smartphones, for example,
Yes.
because
I
that
would
doesn't exist
absolutely.
here.
Yes, I would absolutely love to. And SuaCode, as I left it, was still open source, but now it's now a company. But from where I left it, I'll be very happy to partner with different organizations, especially with the automatic grading system and the curriculum in itself. If any organization wants to, I mean, not partner because I'm not leading it, but at the same time, I could share my experience and also give you all the software and everything you need in case you want to incorporate it. Of course, you'd have to give proper citation, but that is it's an open source software, so anyone can take it and use it for anything they decide to. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. So folks, you heard it. This is a very nice offer from from Prince. Anyway, take care. Thank you so much for the interview and let's keep in touch.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.